Well, Happy New Year, guys.
What happens if I
what?
point my phone at the screen of the other instance? Am I going to like blow up the universe with some
You will.
kind
Whoa!
of...
Armageddon has just started. We barely got out of 2024.
Well,
Well, that's pretty frightening.
Oh, there it goes.
Oh, man. Well, Happy New Year, guys. Very nice to see everybody. It is the first barely into the year, and here we are. And we got an old familiar face back. Paul Buresh is here. Yay! Welcome back.
Thanks.
But it's good to see everybody. I hope everybody had a very good holidays between Christmas and New Year's and so forth. And so for me personally, don't have many announcements, perhaps only a couple minor notable ones. Is okay. So I sent the email, I posted the calendar of events on our website, and thus our Zoom meeting schedule is on there. And so there will be a 3-week gap between this and the next meeting, just because I have to jockey some personal schedule around. So I gotta, that's why I did it at the meeting this week, and then 3 weeks from now we'll pick it up, and then we'll be back to a little bit more of a normal cadence. But at any rate, that's just a little FYI in case you're wondering in 2 weeks, why isn't there a Zoom meeting? Other than that, I think the only other thing that's going on is, if you haven't already thought about it, start thinking about buying your table for New Hampshire at Castleton. Starting to see people buying tables, and we're seeing signs of people thinking about March right around the corner. Other than that, Bob, do you have anything you want to add to this?
No, I'm all set. Thanks. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, Bob.
Thank you.
John,
Good to see you on the phone.
Thank you.
Still getting weird feedback. Does anyone have any announcements they want to make? Anything that we should be aware of coming around the corner in the next several weeks that we won't cover for the next meeting?
Well, actually, real close up, I'm guessing most everybody who's in the news loop there on our group got an email from Jeanette Liguri concerning Jim's equipment, and she has a real short, I'm trying to recall what date it was. She has a real short window because apparently she's moving, and they usually like January 10th.
Yeah.
But if you want to dig out that email, if you have a need or an interest in anything from Jim, mostly, I guess, a lot of testing equipment, not so much in the radio department, but she needs to move it. So,
yeah, just a good reminder. Thanks, Paul. There, yeah. I guess there aren't many. I get the sense there aren't many like radios that are already longer in some form of restoration or so forth. But yeah, if anyone could help Jeanette out, that would be great.
I guess he has a triplet tube tester he was very fond of, in particular, that I think she would be very happy if someone in the club could make use of it, and probably a pretty good unit. I mean, I'm betting if it's something he serviced, all of that stuff would be top notch. If it's something he never got to, because as she mentioned, and as a lot of folks know, Jim liked to make things work, but he wasn't so much the radio collector, but he was very gifted technically. So, yeah. And then just a general announcement that I've made in a couple of different places, but this stuff may be coming. Maybe to Brookline would be a better place because it's a little less stressful than Castleton can be. I'm cleaning out 4 rather large crates of equipment. Well, not really equipment, but parts that somebody has collected over about, 50 years of fixing antique radios. So, Greg, I'm sorry I struck out. I didn't have any of your dial glasses, I don't think. No, it was another Greg actually. No, on the Philco forum. It wasn't the Van Beek Greg, but I've got probably about 50 dial glass. Most of them are mint. If you are looking for something prior to this showing up at Spring Brookline, let me know. But I've got knobs. I've already moved out the tubes, which were probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 200, all of which tested good. But I've got sockets. I've got it all. This guy was truly someone who grew up, I think, during didn't have a lot coming up. So when he would junk a chassis, there was really maybe nothing but a piece of metal left. I mean, he took everything off that could possibly be reused. But the other thing that is somewhat helpful, he packaged it pretty well and labeled it pretty well. And I also have tube shields out the wazoo. I also have a lot of IF transformers for all various types of radios. He mostly worked on 5 and 6 tube sets. So, if that's your forte and you have a need, I got most anything that would be temperature sensitive out of the garage. And I'm working on getting the rest of it out as things start to get a little colder. But let me know if you have an impossible need. If it's something I've seen, I'll figure something out for you.
Oh, that is really useful information. Sounds like you could have your own website there, Paul.
Well, the thing is, it's just the time in cataloging it all and finding homes for it. So, some of the stuff, if somebody's actively engaged in repair, so, if they think they can use some of it, that might be, a godsend for them. There's a lot of stuff in there that, you could probably go crazy trying to look for. And it's all in good shape. I don't think anything in there I would say falls into the throwaway category. So we'll see how it cleans up, and got to figure out a way to present it without driving everybody, including myself, crazy if we do this at the show.
Oh, it's great. Paul, have you socialized this on our Hoops.io Reflector?
I don't know that I've put it on the Reflector. I offered some dial glasses to some of my pals over on the Philco forum, and I'm just until I had a better handle on what exactly is all in there. I'm going to make a catalog of the dial glass, so I have some kind of a coherent listing, and then the other stuff I'll probably. I could, a brief description and how many there are of certain things. The tube shields, who knows, what brand, make, or model, but I've seen a lot that look like the 30s and early 40s sets, the simple corrugated ones, and then the, elegantly shaped ones for some of the funkier tubes that were used in there. But it's just, I wish I could just put stickers on all the stuff and lay it all out, or shoot it all and post it, but I just haven't quite had the time to get there. But never hurts to ask me if you're looking for something. Let's put it that way.
Good to know.
I got speakers, and I got a lot of backs with speakers, antennas still attached that look pretty good. I know a lot of people with the internal loop sets. You can go crazy trying to make one. You go crazy trying to find one. So maybe I can be a little bit of a matchmaker.
Awesome. Really good. It keep it from going to the landfill.
That's about the size of it.
Yeah, Paul, I have what I think is an old Philco, which I've had stored away. It's a console, but the console is in disastrous shape. But I was just looking up, I took a few notes on it, and I just thought it might be something that somebody could use, if nothing else, for the tubes. It's got a whole pile of, let's see, 24As, 27s, 45s. It's I can probably find a picture of the chassis, but unfortunately, the place where there was a label has fallen off. So I don't know the model number that this was, but it's the speaker definitely was a Philco speaker in a console. And if somebody wants it, again, I don't want to. It seems a shame to throw antiques into the landfill, but
Where are you located, Dick?
I'm in Brookline, Massachusetts, unfortunately.
Right.
No parking, but it's kind of centrally located, but it depends, who you're talking to
I'll
in the
put up
group.
some pictures. I'll put up some pictures.
Yeah.
I've had this stuff stored in, I had a lab at MIT, and there are just tons of stuff stored there of various flavors of magical mystery stuff, and all of which I was going to restore at some point, probably 20 years ago, none of which I'm going to restore. So I'll put up some pictures and people can have them.
When's the next MIT flea? You know, maybe you can, if
I
your stuff
don't
is in
think
proximity,
April.
maybe you could
April.
offload some
April,
there.
April,
Yeah.
April.
Yes, yes.
Uh,
But, so Tom, I would normally be having you start with the Giblin tuning circuit, but we seem to be missing Len. So,
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, but
no.
not
That's-
much I can do about it. We'll do it some other time. I'm just looking at Russ there with that. I'm going to guess a 75A3 in the background. Russ, maybe you tell us about that. Are you restoring it or what?
Yeah, you're close. It's a 75A2. I picked that up from Bruce, WX10, and just started on it in the last couple days. So right now, it's still in the just kind of looking at it, seeing what's going on with it, and doing some cleaning before I start really pulling it apart.
That's neat. I wonder if that was from Dave's estate.
I
Yeah,
believe it was.
I see Bruce
Bruce
nodding
is
his head.
nodding.
Most of the stuff that Dave had was in real good condition. What was the general feeling about the equipment that Dave had, Bruce? I know that you brought many dozens of big radios of his to the Deerfield Nearfest. And what kind of feedback did you get?
Most of the stuff that I salvaged or took to the Hamfest were in very good condition. Russ's 75A2 was the exception. It turned out to be a mouse hotel, and it was awful. It was the radio that Dave listened to the most in his metalworking shop, and I thought it was going to be terrific. But I even pulled a wire out of it when I first opened it up, only to find a body of a mouse connected to the other end of it.
Oh,
And
jeez.
so Russ was very brave to go and attempt to do this. A lot of the insulation was chewed off the underside. However, we made a demonstration with Russ present, and it receives splendidly. So Russ is going to have a good time, I hope, as a winter project. There may be a few trinkets left from the W1UMB estate, but I think most of it's gone.
It's neat. At some point, I guess I could show those pictures that we took. Is that okay to do you think, Bruce?
I think it would be now.
Yeah, okay. So maybe if there's nothing else going on, I could
Yeah.
just
Yeah, go
Bruce,
ahead, Tom. No, we'll call an audible.
say again.
I said, yeah, why don't we? Let's call an audible and just we'll do this
Run
on the
with it.
fly here. You want me to share those photos? Plus, if you want to show more.
Hey, come on, this is
freedom
radio, theater of the mind. I'd say he should do it as if it was a radio show and talk us through the circuitry with little hand waving.
What exactly were you ailing with, Noah? I think you're hallucinating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no more than usual.
No more than usual. That's good.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom. Be
Okay.
absolutely welcome to do that.
Okay, I will do that. And just let me know when you're tired of it. Let me just get into the screen sharing mode. Okay, now come on, get up there, menu. There we go. There we are. Okay, this is the kind of site that you were greeted with when you, can you see this okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, Tom.
Yeah.
I think you can proceed, but I would just not reveal the location because
Yeah.
the woman lives by herself.
Yes, I understand. I'm not going to say anything further. I was hoping you would narrate because you really catalogs all this stuff, and I was there to help, but you packed it somehow into a trailer and got it over to Nearfest. So Bruce, if you want to just talk about these a little bit, and I'll just run through them at your will.
Well, sure. You're looking at a corner of what we call the radio room, what Dave called the radio room. And if you see a little white tag on everything, the female partner of the Silent Key and I inventoried all the equipment and put a unique number on everything so we could keep track of what he had. I think we finally came to an end and exhausted, and after 320 items. So let's see what on the desk over there where you see a telephone. Let's see. I think that was a 75A1 in the rack. There was the Hallicrafters to the right of that. Well, why don't you go ahead and show the next picture?
Okay, stand by.
This was the main operating position from the chair with that little pull-out desk thing right there. Given the type of equipment that was found in the estate, one of the smallest radio, a Yaesu, was right above that little pull-out desk, was his main operating radio. Dave's interest was not communicating very much and trying to log massive numbers of contacts. His main interest was to make a contact with all existing countries, and I think he achieved that goal. So what we see here, the large unit, gray unit in the foreground, is a Collins.
Oh, hi, how are you? Hey,
75.
great, yeah, I was
S1,
gonna
and
put in a call
above
a little
that,
later. I'm happy
I
to talk to you anytime.
believe is what would that be? A 75? I think it's a 75A4.
Yes.
Right. Dave loved rack equipment. So one of the things that made it difficult to move it along into other hands was there were very few units in their own cabinets. You can go to the next one.
Okay, Jolty, yeah.
John, you may have to mute Bob. I think it's on the.
Yeah, I just handled that. Thanks, Tom.
Okay, this just looks like another of the first picture. Let's go on.
That's right.
So
we're spanning around the room now. Humorously, and the partner thought it was funny after she figured it out. There is the window that you see on the left, and there's a gray box that is on the shelf there. That box cries out for knobs and meters. Unfortunately, Dave lies within.
Oh, okay.
At least his ashes do. And so then he was also interested in audio equipment. So we have a big reel-to-reel tape, and also a prize of the entire collection, I think, goes to I've forgotten his name. He may be sitting in the Zoom meeting right now. Is what they call, help me, I can't remember his name. It's a curve tracer, and he was very, very excited to get a curve tracer. I don't know what it does. I think you can compare the quality of tubes with that device, that oscilloscope unit.
So the device right in the middle of the picture.
Pardon me, John?
The device right in the middle of the picture is what you're talking about.
That's correct.
Tektronix curve tracer.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, next.
That was at Brookline, wasn't it?
No, it never went to Brookline. It was a private sale in the home. Then it's worth pointing out that every room had equipment in it. This is the attic over top of the radio room, where you can see a 75A on the floor and other equipment piled up and hidden in different nooks and crannies. Next. This, this is looking down from the attic, you know, at pieces of things that have been stored even on the stairway. Next. This is a corner of the attic. There was a lot of optical equipment. By the way, all the optical equipment is still there. If anybody's interested in that, I can provide the name of the remaining person in the house.
What do you mean? What do you mean by optical equipment, Dave? Bruce?
It had nothing to do with radios. It was let's see, microscopes, things you look through and see things bigger or smaller. That's what I mean.
Okay, closer or further too.
Right. Let's see. Also, somewhere in that. Oh, yeah. Next picture. That one. This is a unit that I bought for my friend in Bethesda, Maryland. This is a Collins 30L1 amplifier. Again, emphasizing the point that even though it had its internal cabinet, there was no external cabinet for this unit, which makes it less desirable. But I found the external cabinet at the October Deerfield in the next booth when some guy showed up and put it out for sale. So it's been restored and it works very nicely. Next. This is another angle from the attic. Tom, maybe you can talk about the Collins there that are piled up.
It's definitely a 75A4. The one above it is probably, what is that? I guess 75S2 or something like that. Do you think, Bruce?
Well, I don't know what it is. You're the expert in that department.
Yeah, but my eyes aren't very good. What's that?
Okay.
What's that little guy in the middle there? That's interesting.
It's too small for me to identify.
Okay. Well,
Okay, next.
I can enlarge it. I wonder if it'd be interesting. I didn't take a close look at it, but it's I guess it's just another column there. The angle makes it look smaller. Looks like a 51S1, which is the general coverage Collins receiver, right?
Yeah, I think that's right. On top of that, in that box, that would be I'm searching for the word. It's a watt meter. A high quality watt meter is in that box. And
pretty obviously a Heath kit in the background too, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, Mohican. That's a nice little receiver.
All right, next.
Yeah, working on it.
That's more in the attic. Okay, I'm not going to describe all of that. Now, let's see. Now we're in the barn. Not only was there a radio room and an attic, there was also a library room in the house. There was also bedrooms in the house. Now we're in the garage part of a large barn where Dave had put the less fine equipment. Here we see a 6-foot rack with various equipment in it. Next. Yeah, pieces of national equipment over there. Actually, that's still sitting there. You really have to use that. This is parts only. Except if you're interested in an open wheel sports car, it's under the red cover. It was a prized vehicle, and I can definitely, if anybody has an interest in that, I'll lead you to its location.
I think
Yeah, is
that's
that one of the-
Anaheim 7.
Yeah, yeah. Is that one of the Lotus kits?
Yeah,
I think it is.
It's a
Yeah.
knockoff of Lotus 7, and I think they're located in Air, Massachusetts, if memory serves, or they were, and they're called the Caterham 7.
Caterham, yep.
And so that looks like exactly the profile I'd be expecting. And they're supposed to be a hoot to drive.
Well, I think it's available.
Oh boy.
It's great for the winter. Great for the winter.
Yes, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's even heated seats on that baby. You have to make your own.
That's a mean
Come on, John, you got to
set
go
of
for it.
tubes just next to the sports car. I've never seen any tubes like that. If come down a bit, Tom, and
Okay, I'll try. I don't know what happened here. Cancel. Down,
okay, or head back up. I'm sorry.
okay.
Look at okay,
Oh,
just
yeah.
to the left. Look at the
Oh,
two.
yeah.
I mean, they're not 813s. They're fat,
Right.
and
They're probably 813s.
I don't think
It's
the
small,
proportions.
813.
Yeah,
they're not tall enough for an 813. They're not. That's an interesting tube.
Yeah, there are about 200 tubes in the estate. So just moving around, we can look at different things. There's a national HRO. Doesn't once again doesn't have the final cabinet in. It's designed for rack mount. Next. I'm just trying to keep it moving.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just more more parts and stuff. Keep going. That's another view of the same. Keep going. All right. So Russ. Russ, there's your 75A2 sitting in the corner, which is the Mouse Hotel. Interestingly, above that is a unit that what I'm trying to think of the name of that, Tom.
Millen.
Millen.
That's right. It's a Millen Millen amplifier, and the exciter is also in the room. And that was sold to, let's see, lower side bay, W1LSB, who was exceedingly happy to have purchased that for his collection at the Amfest.
And
And
W1LSB is part of the Long Island CW Club boat anchor group. Zoom.
That's right. Right.
He parades his conquests occasionally.
And there's a small Johnson EF Johnson antenna tuner and coupler. Okay, next. So Dave also had a lot of interest, and one of those interests was machinist. As a matter of fact, that's how he made a living early on. And this is just a photograph of the other standing in front of the radios that we just saw, looking towards the heavy-duty machine equipment. In the background,
On the left and above the lathe is a very interesting piece of Tektronix equipment. It is a couple of 122 preamplifiers.
right. So there was a lot of Tektronix equipment there. As a matter of fact, there was so much there that a guy who runs the Oscilloscope Museum in Lee, Massachusetts, came to this location with a member of NEVIC and drove away with their car absolutely packed. There was room to sit. So a lot of the test equipment left, but there's still more there.
You have to be there by 10.
Yeah,
So
that's
leave by
the 75A2 in the background.
I'm sorry, not 9:15, 8:30.
Right. Next.
Yeah. So what time you getting up? 8. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
There's more metalworking.
If I remember to set the.
You can continue on, Tom.
Okay.
Ooh.
That's still sitting on the floor.
Don't pick it up.
It's yeah, it's probably easily 150 pounds. It
Yeah,
appears
that's
to
a
be a
beast.
power supply with a pair of 866A mercury vapor rectifier tubes. This is what's left of Dave's work table in which he worked on stuff. The photograph was taken during an open house estate sale. Tom was there, I was there, and other members of the local radio club were there. So they have already scavenged and dismantled test equipment that was in that rack to the right. But if you looking in the opposite direction, there are just boxes and boxes of small radio parts, resistors, condensers, tubes. Go ahead. Do you have a photo looking in the other direction?
Don't know.
No, not really.
Okay.
Just more electronics. That's it. That's looking in the other direction. So there's a large number of tubes in that. Other plug-ins for the Tektronix oscilloscopes at the top of the left of the photograph. Boxes and boxes of meters. Smaller containers for resistors and capacitors. It was a real rat's nest, and it has not yet been cleaned out. A few choice pieces have been removed, but basically nothing's been done in that, Tom. Yeah. And that's another shot of the same room moving to the left. You can see the machine shop to the right. Okay. I think we must be getting near the end. Oops, that not quite. Oh, that's the Millen. That's the Millen with the exciter and the 75A2 sitting there.
You think you'd be able to send that photo to me if that would be okay? It'd be kind of cool to have that.
Yes, I think Tom, you might be able to handle that, right?
Yeah, sure. Can you send me an email? And just easiest way is tom@enigmamuseum.com.
Okay,
Right.
will do. Thank you.
And
you
Russ,
want
Russ,
tell me which picture it is. It is my number, Dave 1100.jpg.
Got it, Dave 1100.
Yeah, thanks.
Russ, I haven't forgotten about your request for a QSL card. It was passed on to the partner. I know where they are. They're in the attic, but she can't find them. I'll get them in the spring.
Okay, no worries. Thank you, though. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Just tons and tons of beautiful
Wow.
machinist instruments. Ideal for anybody who wants to do real precision machining. What did he do in terms of machining, Bruce? Was that part of his job or what?
He was an independent contractor in Connecticut. I think he even manufactured and created parts for early space equipment.
Wow.
It's a
You can just you can just go on through these, Tom, and
Yeah.
explain them.
This is an interesting corner of the attic. Primarily pigeon droppings on here. And it looks like there are a lot of interesting tubes there. I didn't look at them very closely either.
Well, what that is chemistry equipment. They're like beakers and all kinds of other things.
Yeah.
There was
There's
not
something
a
for-
lot of pickings in the attic in the barn.
It looks to me about something for everybody in this photos.
Yeah. Did we ever figure out what this was, Bruce?
I did not. No. So
Nice.
there's still a tower there. The tower is equipped with a hazer. That's that rectangular thing at the top of the tower, which allows you to lower the antenna while the tower is still standing. Thinking that could be a tribander, but I think more than likely it's a 20-meter monoband
Yeah, I think
Yagi.
no traps, so I think you're right.
There is another 20-meter Yagi band antenna hanging from the ceiling of the barn that is available if anybody is in love with 20 meters.
Was that the one we saw here?
Yep.
Nope, that's not it. You can't see that one.
Okay, that's another antenna, probably still there. There's a nice stack of ICOMs on top of Collins, on top of Collins.
That's back in the house attic. Here's the
Oh,
bedroom. His
this is
bedside.
my favorite picture. This is Dave's bed. Right next to his bed, he has a beautiful Collins 51S, probably 2 receiver.
That's great. Does it have an alarm clock feature?
Yeah. And this was down at the foot of his bed. That's a
That's
fairly interesting receiver. Do you recognize it?
Yeah, it's a Raycal R17, I think.
Uh-huh. Did you sell that at the at Nearfest?
No, I bought it from his survivor.
Oh, okay. Have you fired it up yet?
I have not. It scares me. I have not fired it up because actually I think it's has a 600 ohm output. I only recently found a transformer that would convert it down to 4 or 8 ohms.
Okay. I think that's probably enough.
Okay.
Pretty neat. Thank you, Bruce. Kind of fun to go through that.
Thank you for your patience, everyone.
Oh, no, that was okay,
Thank you
Bruce.
for sharing.
Yeah, that was great. Just an enormous amount of equipment there. Huge
Hey,
amount.
John, I have a couple of odd little photographs of
Yeah,
what I thought were some unusual tubes. If
absolutely.
I can
Go
do
ahead.
this right.
You got it. Floor is yours.
Share screen. Okay. The Chrome tab. I think they've changed Flickr, and I think they've changed the Zoom since I've been on, but let's see. Any luck?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see here. So this, I found some interesting tubes. I have a couple, I did put some of the ones that I hadn't seen aside. This one kind of struck my eyes. Los Gatos tube. And there's a logo and
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what it says. Something about it's supposed to be as tough or and I couldn't find out really what type of tube it was, but it was Lewis and Kaufman, a Los Gatos tube. I think it was you can see the
I saw a number.
designate 30
3Q5. That's an audio
3Q5,
output.
that's
a
battery.
3Q5 GT.
Yeah.
But ever see one of those with the
6BQ5 maybe.
the little cat?
No, it's a 3Q5. That's output for like a battery set.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think that's a C, not a G. I think it's Los Catos.
Los Catos.
Yeah, but
Gato Gato is cat in Espanol.
Yeah, it's also a town in the peninsula near San Francisco.
I believe I have a new old stock. I will have to check that and get back because I do have a box, I believe, that is Los Gatos.
Yeah.
You ever hear of that company, Lewis and Kaufman, which I don't know if it's a relabel or if they actually made their own stuff. It was some small
They made audio
independent.
gear. They did make audio gear. I have heard of some things by them.
Then the other thing that I thought was kind of odd, if you go down to the little RCA metal tube, I've come across a lot of stuff, and I know that tons of stuff was thrown out at the tube manufacturers. You see these photographs at Westinghouse and RCA where they just shovel all the defective or substandard tubes into some big hopper and grind it up. but I've never seen a tube marked substandard before.
That's wonderful.
6 SS7. So I just thought that was worth a
Oh,
peek.
yeah. That's neat.
Not sure what kind of a radio I could use that in. I don't know what the application for that tube
The
would be.
Hammerlin HQ 120s and 129s took like about 5-6 SS7s in each radio.
Well, if I had one, I could put it in and see just how substandard it is. But I mean, and I was surprised because I thought they all went to great pains not to sell anything that would, reflect poorly on the quality of their science, so to speak. But, depending on the vintage of this thing, if you look at the RCA logo, that could be like, a wartime type thing where they just said, hey, here it is, I don't know.
Maybe
Black
it's
materials.
designed, maybe it's designed for underwater use.
Anyway, I just thought the Los Catos I thought was particularly
Got a good
kinda
looking
neat.
icon.
Yeah, I mean, they should have had more business. Anyway, that's it.
Oh, great. Great.
Back to the show.
By the way, I don't know if people noticed, Joe from Michigan's call out if anyone's looking for any 615 tubes. Reach out. He's got some, I guess, available, looking for a home. But so do reach out to Joe if you're interested. So did anyone have any other acquisitions over Christmas or projects that they'd like to share? They're absolutely welcome to do so.
I could show you. Well, let's see. I have a couple of things while I'm that I don't think I've shared with the group before. If that's all right, John, I'll
Yeah,
take like
absolutely.
maybe 5 minutes.
Absolutely.
So
Go
here,
ahead.
let
No,
me get-
this is semi-open forum anyway, so go ahead.
All right. At the risk of boring you all, here, let's see.
No, there's no boring here. I, for one, cannot
All right.
report any acquisitions of my own other than I did get a Star Trek toy, but that's not vintage.
So let's see. Here is a Silvertone 7134, and this is it's my very first tube radio, and I hope I don't cry when I do this for you guys. So anyway, so the story behind this thing was I was about 12 years old, and we're cleaning out. I had a great uncle who lived well into his 90s, a fascinating character. He had 7 siblings. His father died when he was about 8. He gets all the kids through school. He works about 14 jobs to support his mom and to help his siblings survive the 20s and 30s. He then goes off to Suffolk Law at the age of, I think, 36, and became a fairly well-established Boston attorney for many, many, many years. A real stand-up type guy, old school, honest as the day is long, one of the most well-spoken people you would ever meet in your life. So it was time to clean out Uncle Jack's office, and I came upon this little wooden Silvertone. So I was kind of enamored with it. I hadn't really, at that age, seen much of vacuum tube stuff. So, we found it. My father had a friend of his repair it, take the caps out, put in a tube. The guy charged me $2, which I was, at the age of 12. But he was just a brutal businessman. But anyway, I hooked that thing up with a long wire, and I would listen to Ernie Howell do Detroit Tigers games. I'd listen to New York. I'd listen to Gene Shepard. I'd listen to Baltimore Orioles. I mean, it really punched over its weight, I guess you would say, for something with that type of tube complement. Just a little 6-tube AC/DC, and it's probably one of those things. I've held on to it so long, I don't quite know that that's a radio I would ever give up. And let's see what else we have here that we can share here. So
Nah, you can't get
this
rid of that.
is RCA 60 that was found at a Brookline meet, which is in pretty good shape. And I guess you had to go up one more in the line there to get one with an I2, but it's that kind of a nifty set. We'll see where that goes. But nice sort of 1930s RCA look, the metal tubes. And let's see here. Go back to my albums. And this is a particularly nice little, I think it's the 6RF9 Livingston, which I think Paul Dumont did one of these over. He has a Bakelite version of it, but what a nice set. Boy, does that thing play. And I'm particularly fond of the dial is lit on both sides. So the
Yeah.
cabinet's original, kind of left it as it is. And really nice, rich tone. RCA outdid itself with this one. And from what I understand, they had a version of this that you could buy with these small, spindly little legs that you could actually make that like a small, I won't say console, but you could, mount it on a floor if you didn't have a table that would support that thing. It is a little heavy, so I've yet to ever see a set of those. And then you can kind of make out on the second picture is a RCA 56X5. The picture doesn't do it justice. It's that was a radio that my father, when he worked for Edison, got from somebody. He'd helped them probably a little bit more than he should have to get their lights back on, because you have to walk that fine line between calling the electrician and dealing with the utility company. Well, I think he crossed the fine line. So somebody said, hey, if you like things that are electrical, it's not a bad little 6-tube set, but again, that's probably falls into the category of radios I would not get rid of. When I cleaned out my dad's workbench, that puppy was still sitting there. So anyway, those are my shows. 2 RCAs in the silver tone.
Very nice. You can't get rid of that silver tone, Paul. Just
No, the other thing with the silver tone too is I was thinking about it, and in a way, it kind of, and you can make these things. You tell as much of a story as you want, right? Because I certainly wasn't around, but it very much epitomized who he was. He was very frugal, even though he did okay for himself after getting into the law business. But he probably got that out of the catalog, and they probably shipped that over from, if you're familiar with Fenway Park, there's a old Sears building over there now. They call it Landmark Place. Well, that was like a Sears regional warehouse, shipping and inventory facility for Greater Boston. And I can almost guarantee you that they probably brought it over for a nominal fee, 10 cents to drop it off. But he could have got a better radio, but he really didn't need it living in Greater Boston, because he get everything he wanted. And plus with the long wire, with the minimal, what interference was there back then, so he probably did quite well for himself with that thing. Anyway, that's my story.
That's all right. That's good. That's a good story. Good story. Anyone else have anything they'd like to share or talk about? I can dull you with more pictures from Brookline, of course, which I have ready to go, figuring that might be a additional filler, sort of like an
Sure.
I'd like to see that car again that Greg has, and maybe we could spotlight him and tell us a little bit about it. It's hard to see and small. Can you spotlight him, John?
I will. Let me do that. All right. So Craig, there we go.
It's all metal.
Pretty nice, pretty nifty.
What's the history on it, Greg? Was it sold as a complete model, or did you build it, or what?
No, it was complete like this. It's just how I got it. I just took it out of the box, and they make a lot of different cars in this 1/18th scale, and It's well over 12 inches long. I'll bet you it's probably about 13, 14 inches long. And it's incredibly detailed. I don't know if I can get any
Oh, yeah.
closer. Get under the
Oh, yeah,
hood,
we
but
can see that.
Wow.
there you go.
Who's the maker? Who makes the model?
I think it was made in Britain someplace.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Wonder
my
if they made a Dodge 500.
There may be somewhere, Tom. There is a distinct possibility someone has made that. Yours was what, 56 or 55? No, what years was yours, Tom?
Wow, that's
56, I
beautiful.
think,
56 Dodge
56.
500. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's got the push button, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I would still happily keep that in my garage.
That is magnificent, really.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
are.
I don't think they're all that expensive either. But I mean, the detail on them is incredible.
Yeah,
As
the-
a side note to that, some of the members of the Chrysler 300 Club have somehow or other, people stumbled upon old versions of the original game show, The Price is Right, where you had to guess the price in order to win. And there were not one, but two different episodes where the grand prize that people had to guess the price of were Chrysler 300G convertibles.
Well,
Wow.
wow.
Now, they only made 337 of them, and two of them were actually giveaways on a game show on television, which is
Unbelievable.
pretty crazy.
They were pretty, they commanded a pretty fair price at the time.
Oh, they were in excess of $6,000.
Yeah. So that's
I actually sat through reruns of the old Price is Right with Bill Cohen.
Yes.
And it's amazing what they used to have. They used to have complete houses
Yep.
that you could win, and you had to guess the price of the house.
unbelievable.
I actually got one other model I can show you quick, similar
go
to that
ahead.
one. Also got that for Christmas. This is a 61 DeSoto.
Oh,
Very-
yes.
Oh,
Yep,
cool.
I've seen that in a couple of different colors, and and unfortunately they don't do a 61 300G convertible like that
No.
F. They do a 61 DeSoto of all things. Like,
Yeah.
what, who's going to want a 61 DeSoto when you could have a 300G? But I don't know. It's like,
That's
Yeah.
funny.
The color is really outstanding on this too.
It's like
I
a
mean,
light turquoise.
yeah, not much going on under the hood there, but
meanwhile, at the
that's
other
nice.
end of the spectrum, this is like a. It's not even what's bigger, 1/64th.
yeah, this is 118.
Yeah, this is 1/64th 300G convertible.
Oh, yeah,
That-
let me hold on a second. Let me get a chance to hold on here. See if I can get you
See
spotlight.
if I can.
It's a little slow to respond. There we go. I just had to just grab the spot. There we go. Now that's
There's sort of the matchbox sized version,
Mm-hmm.
but white with tan interior. Obviously, at this size, nowhere near the same level of detail. But
Still very nice.
that's
yeah, it's
really-
pretty nice. It's a good compliment to the real one that's out in the garage. So
Actually, if you
I forget, is yours a convertible? No, or have you got the hardtop?
now I've got the convertible.
Okay.
actually I could probably run to my cabinet. I've got actually two. Some of you who built models as children, as childs. I have two Johann kits I built. One was the 1962 Chrysler 300H,
Yep.
which I painted
Yep.
in pretty well.
Well,
And then
that-
they had really good subject matter. I also built a 1960 DeSoto Adventurer.
Now
Oh,
that
yeah,
that 62H, did that come in? It was kind of like a greenish blue plastic.
That one, yeah, Johann, sometimes their color choices were pretty brutal.
Yeah,
for,
because I've got that one. I've got the 62H convertible that has the convertible top. that you could put on or off.
Oh, interesting, because mine's the hardtop. I was
Okay,
so
now
when
this is a convertible, and yeah, and it is an H. You know, it's got the 4 bucket seat interior.
That's really interesting. I should try. I could go over to the cabin. I'm able to fetch it, but I need about 30
And
seconds.
mine's all the way out in the garage, and I'm running.
Mine's not far.
around.
Just I have to, jockey something if I'm going to.
Yeah.
I might give it a shot in a moment here, see what's going on. But
You've got some other interesting looking cars just over your shoulder, though, behind you in the cabinet.
well, okay, and that probably deserves its own event. But I do have a cabinet of, let's say, most of this stuff. There's 2 sets of stuff. Some are pre-World War II Grand Prix cars, so mostly the German stuff. So the Mercedes, the auto unions, of that ilk. But I do have some. See here, I do have so I have Mercedes. Then I have early post World War II things like some Ferraris and the famous Maserati Birdcage, some various Grand Prix cars, a Bentley. Got to have a Bentley since they were the world's fastest truck back in the 20s, and a variety of things. But I actually have to get my iPad because doing this with my laptop was going to just.
No, I know.
I'll go. Well, actually, while Greg is on, I'll spotlight him. You see, he's got looks like an Olds Tornado, which is I'm a big
66 Tornado.
We've talked about them. Yeah, there's the promotional model for a 66 Tornado.
Ooh, I like that.
What's unique about this was a giveaway at the Bing Crosby Golf Tournament.
Nice.
Sponsored by
I've got the AMT, 3-in-1 type kit of the 66.
Okay.
That was one of my favorite cars right there. Always wanted one of those as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Wait for a minute.
Flat floors and a very scary chain drive from the engine to the transmission.
Well, it's got that cool speedometer too. It looks like a
Yep.
slot machine.
That's pretty cool. All right.
I think John is digging something out.
Yeah, well, since we're showing, I was able to get it to hand. I just had to go over to the cabinet, and so I just grabbed what came to hand first. So let me try to spotlight myself just so you can see the. Actually, okay. So see here, just so you guys can see, just because so now we're going way off out of the digital electronics thing. But since it's you know what.
I'm only showing cars that actually have radios in the dash.
This one would have. This does actually have a radio, but I will bring it up here. So
Ooh, yeah.
Ooh, there we go.
This is so I built this when I was about 17. So
Okay.
so they did the
Wow.
tricolor interior. I have the carbo shore from that era.
Wow.
So I was able to. Sorry, I'm just can't see what the heck I'm doing here.
Yeah, no, that was right just below Chrysler in the.
You know how
lineup,
much I had to whittle a toothpick to do the script down to its finest. I did this with silver paint. It was extremely involved. It took me hours to do the. But you know what? It's very satisfying. If I could just get the hood open, bear with me a moment here. It's a little bit tricky because this goes back to the around 1980, 81. So you have to understand that there is a risk of of just vintage parts wanting to give way, but everything's holding together. But here is the engine bay, if you guys can see it. All painted up by hand, guys. Nothing up my sleeve. But yeah, I was pretty happy with that. It was that's my 19, and it does have a radio because I remember doing the little dials with the toothpicks. I'm sitting there, trying to get that,
Did you paint the torsion bars too?
The torsion bars, well, I didn't paint those. I probably let those, well, I don't think, well, you remember Joe Hand didn't have a lot of detail, they kind of, you had what you had with them. You know,
Yeah.
they're not the most detailed, but they did do the exhaust. They did what I could, felt was reasonable, right? You know,
I've got a '59 Chrysler promotional. It's got the torsion bars and they actually move. You can push the
yes,
front wheel.
yes.
Wow.
I have the Excel. There's a company called Excel Products. Some of you may have
Right.
heard of them. I used to buy their things. They remanufactured. Oh, look at that. Now I'm gonna have to.
It's
What is that, airport limo?
more rare than my 300G convertible was my 1961 Chrysler New Yorker 8-door
Oh
airport
my
limousine.
God!
Wow.
Made by the Armbruster Stageway Coachworks Company in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Two of my young, foolish buddies who I was able to talk into flying with me on one-way tickets from Boston to Whitehall, Montana. Actually, we flew into Bozeman, and then we got picked up by the gentleman Neil Freeman, who owned a junkyard, who had this car. And naturally, we were in our late 20s, so it was, what could possibly go wrong? And if you look at that fender that's in between two of us standing there, the one that looks like it only has one headlight, it's because we hit a buck in Sundance, Wyoming at 2 o'clock in the morning in a snowstorm on the way back.
That'll do it.
But I was
Holy
able to get a
smokes.
replacement fender for that car for $25 from none other than Don Petty at Don Petty's Pit Stops out of Phoenix, Arizona, who had his
Oh
own
yeah.
personal junkyard of Chryslers. But
And what's that
I,
that you're all
awesome.
holding there?
what's that?
What's that that you're all
We're
holding?
toasting ourselves, having made it
Okay.
all the way
It-
back to North Reading.
And
from-
there weren't any previous toasts that had anything to do with hitting that buck, right?
No, believe it or not, no, with 3 people and with an airport limousine, the sort of sequence of events was the sober person drove until they got tired, and then they moved over to the navigator seat and started drinking. And the person who had been navigating and drinking retired to the back to sleep it off so that they could subsequently then wake up and it was their turn to drive again.
You had a system.
We had a system.
That
That's
sounds
funny. That's awesome.
Kind of stuff that you can do with, no cell phones, no AAA, that we literally, pre 9/11, of course. So I walked onto the airplane, carrying a toolbox with all kinds of wrenches and screwdrivers and things you could never get away with walking onto an airplane with anymore.
Probably thought you were
nowadays.
there to fix the plane, if
Yeah,
something went wrong.
right. And
And
we have
where is
you
that
guys-
now?
Instead
was
of
our
you guys going out looking for the party would come to you.
And that's what we wound up doing with that. Well, I brought my wife and daughter home from the hospital in 1988 in that car after I had fixed it up, and did a couple of weddings, did a couple of proms, and just general mayhem. And we used to go on fall foliage rides up to the Red Parka every autumn to look at the foliage and party at the Parka and then come home.
You can take the entire extended family effortlessly.
Yep.
And what
That's-
finally happened to it?
Well, believe it or not, I took it to a number of years. I took it to a big car show down in New Jersey called Lead East, which was a big hot rod and 50s event. And I wound up selling it to a limo company down there. And then they kind of, I say, butchered it or pimped it out. They put some kind of like red velour interior inside of it. It was really, really awful. And I sort of lost track of it. It turned up down in Virginia one time, and then there was one of those Motor Trend or whatever, one of those, TV station reality things. There's a guy in Virginia who restored cars, and this thing was in the background in one of the episodes. They were working on a different car, but my limo, there's no way it could have been anybody else's limo but mine, was in the background. So I wrote to the show and I said, that's my car, and I know you can't give me the contact information for the person who owns it now, but let me give you my contact information so that you can pass it along. And I did. And about a month later, I received a photograph and a letter, or an email rather, from the owner of the car, the proud owner of the car, who had it into the Virginia place for some servicing before having it shipped to his house in Oslo, Norway.
Oh,
Wow.
I don't think I'm getting that one back.
I've had some of my cars. I actually had a Chevelle. Can I do a share screen? I could show these
Yeah,
pictures real quick.
You are.
I had a
welcome.
4-door, 6-cylinder, 300 tree Chevelle
Wow.
that I loved. And here I gotta dig the picture out here. Shouldn't take me long.
Oh
There it
yeah.
is.
Here's the car right here. It's a.
Nice color blue.
Oh yeah.
I can see if that's coming up.
Hey,
or
nice
not.
two-tone interior. Actually nice.
Yeah.
But here's the car right here. That's me and my wife going to a local cruise night. This was the little 236 cylinder that I was going to pull out and put in a V8. But this guy ran so good.
Yep.
I only had about 60,000 miles on it. The only thing I hated was the 6-cylinder ignition system on cars, because I remember having a bad experience in high school with a bunch of young guys in a Nova where we drove through a big puddle of water, and I was the only guy that had a matchbook that could fix the points and wipe them off and regap them so we can get home that night.
Yep.
This is a 1979 HEI from a
HEI. Yeah, I could
250.
see the HEI in there.
I rebuilt this and put it into 230, and it made this guy run really, really nice.
Yep.
So the story goes, this is my El Camino down here on the right, and
Oh sure.
my wife's 66 Bel Air she had that when we were dating that I fixed up for her. But eventually I put this car up on eBay because I bought this El Camino here on my right.
Oh yeah.
And I started going through that, and it ended up going to Berlin,
Oh, wow.
Germany.
That's
and
funny.
and the guy that bought the car from me, I said, do me a favor, when you get to Germany, send me some pictures of it. And here's some pictures. And this is the Brandenburg Gate.
Oh sure. Absolutely.
So that's where the Chevelle ended up. So I'm not going to bore you with all my old car stories.
No,
I'm sorry I couldn't. I only had 2 Chrysler products. One was a 64 Valiant with rust holes that were so bad in the core panel that cobalt treatments wouldn't have saved them.
Yeah.
And I had a 72 Demon, which I should have kept, but
Yeah, definitely.
I sold it to a buddy. And you know, you probably would think this is a weird car. It was a 318 car with a 3-speed on the column.
Oh yeah. They
I
had some wacko
converted
things.
to putting the 3-speed on the floor, and I had to actually heat up a shifter and put a bend in it so that it would clear second and fourth.
Yes.
Fun times.
Your Chevelle 67?
I'm not going to bore you guys with my hours worth of car stories. Bob a Chevy guy. You haven't figured it out.
That's all right. That's okay. It's all interesting to us.
I love your cars. I'll show you one thing real quick. This is what I got now. This is find a picture of my current ride. I've got a bunch of pictures in here, so please forgive me. Zoop. I think
Was your Chevelle a 67?
Yes.
Okay.
I
My
just have-
folks
here
had
it
a
is.
67 Chevelle, 2-door
There
Hartley.
we
So
go.
that's my Buick 67 Buick Sport Wagon.
Nice.
And it's all I was getting ready to go to a ham fest. And it's like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I took that picture real quick before.
Yep, the Buick version of the Vista Cruiser.
Yeah,
That's
I always
right.
like those.
That last month I went to a junkyard down in Thorndale, Texas, and there's one of these in that junkyard. When I first looked at it, I thought it was a Vista Cruiser, and then I looked more closely and it's like, wait a minute, that's a Buick, but that's got the Vista Cruiser glass on the top.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a
That's
9-passenger.
sharp.
It'll fit plywood and sheetrock and
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
in there. It's great. So
Did you change the color on that, Bob? Somehow I thought it was blue, but maybe the memory is going.
that car was white from when I bought it in 2015.
Okay, just memory is.
That car had 49,000 miles on it when I bought it, but I had to take the whole top of the motor apart and regasket everything, and it was a lot of work. It had a lot of little dumb things wrong with it from sitting for so long, but it was a Missouri car. And the guy I
340?
bought it from brought it out here, and he had it for an old dog that he had that had arthritis in his hindquarters. It was a German Shepherd. It was a real nice dog. But he would fold everything down the back. He threw a comforter back there, and the dog would just lay on that, and he'd drive the dog around that car. And he got bored with
340,
it.
I think, on that, right? Right, Bob?
What's that?
340 on that? 340.
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
it had the it has the 344 barrel. I just changed the carburetor last year. I couldn't get the carburetor to stay working right on that thing, and I got disgusted and I put a different carburetor on. I'm still finagling with that. I may have to rejet it. But car runs and drives, everything works, and gets about 11 miles to the gallon. So I
Yeah,
got
that's
it's got 2-speed automatic in it. So
yeah, the Power Glide equivalent. Yeah, yep.
well, it's actually, yeah, Buick and Olds used a variation of the Power Glide where they had a torque converter with fins. So you got
Yeah, I
up
was
to a
gonna say,
certain
yeah,
RPM and the fins
turbo.
would flip and it feels like you're going into another gear, but it's just a trans locking up. And
Yeah,
that's what I got. I think they called it in the Buick. I know they call it switch pitch. I forget what Oldsmobile called
yeah, that
theirs.
sounds right. That sounds right. I think that's the right term. Yeah.
We used to call, well, in the older ones, in like the Buicks, we used to call them Dynaslow.
Yes.
Well, those early automatics from Buick were pretty brutal. Yeah, what they like right after World War II style. Usually, like
Yes.
my aunt had a beautiful 48 Buick, and they either came with the Dynaslush or you got him with the 3-speed stick. Unfortunately, she had the latter, and that was a cool car. That was a cool car.
This is my second Buick, and I used to have a 73 Riviera with the boat tail.
Mhm.
Nice.
And ultimately, I used that car to tow my 67 SS 396 to the drag strip because I made it too crazy for the street. And I had a scary moment one time in the rain with it. And I said, I'm not driving this on the road anymore. And it became strictly a quarter-mile car. But the Buick was a 455, and that had the 3-speed turbo 400 in it. But
Yep.
I still got the car. I did some tuning on it. I got it to turn 15-second quarter miles with that thing. That's a big, heavy car.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it was just it was a 73, and they already detoned the motor, and this was a Grand Sport motor,
Yeah,
and it was still only rated, I think, like 235 horsepower or 240 horsepower. My 67's got more power than that thing did.
yeah,
But they're Buick and Olds, and they're just torque engines. They
yeah.
throw you back in the seat, make a lot of noise, and go slow.
Right, right.
You know, whereas a Chevy, you could sit there and you could spin the tires and go forever. It's like having a 440 or a 383 and a Valiant. You sit there and spin your tires forever, and it's fun.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I haven't grown up yet.
That's all right.
Still playing with cars.
That's all right. All right.
The the 300s had the signal seeking radios in them with the 2 dimmer switches on the floor. One was for the headlight high beams and the other one was for making the radio change station. So you didn't have to take your hands off the wheel to change
Oh
stations.
yeah, that's right. That was a pretty cool feature.
Yep.
Yeah, and the GMs, they called them Wonder Bars.
Yep. Yeah, it was Town and Country in the
My
Chrysler.
my late uncle, he passed a couple years ago, but he had bought a 56 150 handyman.
Oh,
Wow.
sure.
And actually picked up a Wonder Bar radio that was correct for the car. And I had to go through it, and it was a pain in the neck. I never did a Wonder Bar, but I got it working, and I got that in there. And that was just really neat. But it had to, because it wasn't a Nomad, it had the clamshell tailgate that opened like this
Okay.
instead of the usual.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Sure. Sure. I just thought those were cool. I like the old flat tops.
They were just kind of rare because they were used by like commercial companies and phone company and everything. So to find a good 150 just had a single small strip from like just
Exactly.
behind it was a 2-door, just
Yeah.
behind the door back, just a little strip of chrome, and that was it.
Oh yeah. No, like handymen, like you said, like painters, carpenters, you had
Yeah.
to throw
Yeah.
you had to put 8-foot step ladders, 6-foot step ladders, gallons of paint.
Now, you could find Nomads all over the place. Try to find a nice straight handyman wagon.
They
Yeah.
got all
Hard to
used
find.
up.
I remember.
The few that didn't get used up in their daily lives, generally speaking, they fell prey to people trying to restore a Nomad, and so they got chopped up. And,
Yeah. It's a shame. I know my,
They either went toward fixing Nomads or they turned it into lightweight quarter-mile cars.
Yep.
yeah, I know my neighbor had one. He had a 57. I think it was a 210. Might have been a 150. I was really young, and you could tell the car was tired because I've already got a ride in it. You could smell, a little bit of the oil, because I think the car was starting to burn some oil. I think it was a V8, if memory serves, probably the 283. Naturally, that came in 57, but you could smell it was a tired car. It was in decent shape. I remember, like yesterday, getting the ride, seeing the front seat, the bench seat, and on those.
Well, there's probably a hole in the floor right near the road draft tube that was coming down off of the,
but it was cool.
Blow by and plop, plop, plop.
He got rid of that pretty soon thereafter because he still had his 66 Grand Prix that he had, which rusted away. Unfortunately, rusted enough that he replaced it with the good old Dodge Power Wagon, 1973 Dodge Power Wagon.
Oh my goodness.
3-speed, but you know what? He plowed. He was a construction, so he needed a car that really could do that. That thing, he didn't fail him. The only thing.
Was he ever able to crack the double digits on gas mileage with that thing?
The Power Wagon?
Yeah.
Probably not, because it sat so high. Knobby tires, it sat way up. It had a essentially 4-speed with I think it was a 4-speed with a granny gear, so he pretty much started in second gear. You hear him a mile away because of those knobby tires. But you know what? He plowed our driveway. Faith at 318. It was a 2-barrel. It was just your base Power Wagon, but that it was orange with a white roof, and it unfailingly served him. It's one of those things. One of these days I'll scare up a separate Zoom meeting that's non-radio. We have some time, and I can show.
That'd be fun.
And so forth,
we could break out. Everybody could break out some of their old home movies.
Yeah, I got playable photos of old cars in the family.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think John, maybe to just suffice the rest of this. I don't want to take the rest of the time here because I'm really just a guest. But in 2018. I got a phone call from Rich Lee, who's not here tonight. You guys know who he is.
Oh, yeah.
Wanted to know if I would be interested in talking to a guy about fixing a car radio. I said, all right, yeah, let him call me up. And the guy called me up, and I picked up the phone, and I said, hi, and I told him who I was, and he says, okay. I asked him, what kind of car do you have? Or what kind of car is the radio from? And he said, 48 Tucker.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you said 48 Tucker, is that 6 volt? He goes, yeah. I said, okay. And the next thing you know, I'm talking to him in positive ground.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I'm talking about the car now. The car was bought by a guy from upstate New York. He paid $1,050,000 for unrestored. They went to a speed shop that I'm familiar with that's like really close to Englishtown Drag Strip, which is now closed. You don't drag anymore, but shop is run by a father and son. They're Rob Ida and his father, and they do premier hot rods and restorations. So they're restoring this 48 Tucker, and they wanted the radio to work. So let me show you. Let me go back to the share screen. I think I have some pictures in here. Wait a minute, wrong. There we go. Get that going here. So let me get back into the photos. Okay. And in here somewhere, and it's all right. Well, here's actually a picture of the car at a party here.
Oh yeah, interesting color.
That's a Dante green, which kind of reminds me of the dark green that the Pontiacs were using, like on GTOs and the Firebirds.
Banduro green, as they call it, or something like that.
I didn't mean to do that.
Sorry
about that. So
look at that, and matching luggage.
Now, let me see if I could find a picture of the. Yeah, I've got pictures in here somewhere. Doggone it. Well, here's a picture of. On the left is a Motorola radio that was meant to go into Plymouth. On the radio on the right is actually a Tucker radio.
Mm-hmm.
And it's literally the same radio. It's a Motorola model number 708. and it's a 6-volt positive ground, and like the Tucker radio. The Tuckers used this same radio, and it was made by Motorola for the Tucker. The only difference is the Tucker had, I don't know if I've got this in here, a picture of the front of the radio. Like here's a good picture right here. I ain't coming up. There it goes.
Yeah,
Yep.
push
This
button.
is the interior of the actual car,
Right.
and here's the radio that I did right here.
Oh, nice. How interesting.
And it's not, I don't know if I can blow this, and I can't blow this up. But the push buttons, you'll see that there are 6 push buttons here, and
Mhm.
with the letters TUCKER
Yeah.
on each one. One of the things that this radio had that was also cool was you could push the button. It had motorized tone control on it.
Oh,
It's,
Hmm.
unless I had it in front of me and I could demonstrate it, it's pretty odd. So ultimately, and this is a picture of the front of the car where you could put these luggage in the trunk, and of course the spare tires here, and that was really useless because I was in a museum with my wife and we were looking at some Tuckers, and the fellow that was there was, he spent a couple minutes with us, and he says, well, the reason this was horrible because it just made it hard to reach over the fenders to pull these things out, and it's kind of sad in a way because the Tucker was such an innovative car.
Yep.
Here's this is the body plate for the car that my restored radio went to. It says here, I don't know how well it's coming through, but it says body number 1044.
Yeah.
And it's over here as well. So that was out of the 50 cars that were made. This was number 44.
Yep.
So not
Wow.
to keep boring you with all this stuff.
No, you got to be the only radio guy I know who ever worked on a Tucker radio. That's for sure.
So
Well, I
I
think-
don't want to bore you guys anymore with this, but the sad part is that I spent hours going through this thing and whatever. The first radio actually had a 6X5, used the 6X5 in it, or no, yeah, 6X5, and it shorted out and toasted the radio. So I had to get a second radio and do that over again. I had 2 days to do it, and I was up to like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning for 2 days straight getting this done because the car had to go, finish, get put back together. Then they were going to ship it out to Pebble Beach for the show. It was going to be judged and all that. And I did it. They got the radio in, and then they shipped the car out. And some of the pictures, there was a party they had like the night before. They were going to roll the car into the trailer and then drive it away in the morning the next day, which I couldn't attend. I had one of my friends go over there and take pictures for me. Long and short of it was, during the judging, they checked everything. They checked the wipers, they checked the headlights, they start the car, does it go forward, back? They did all the checks in the radio on the car, but they never turned the radio on.
Ah,
During the
outrageous.
And the car didn't, they had a special event for the Tucker since it was like the 50th anniversary in 2018. So it was 48, 2018, it was a big deal. And our 60th anniversary, I'm sorry. Long and short of it is that the car that got restored was drop dead gorgeous. You can see from the pictures. It didn't win. I'm trying to remember the name of the director. It's an Italian director that owns 2 Tuckers, and one of his Tuckers got grand prize. So there was probably some favoritism showed there. So, but Rob did a wonderful job. Rob's father, by the way, was at that time was I think 88 or 89 years old, and he's probably still working with. He's at that shop every day, and he's a machinist, just like you saw just before when Tom was showing the pictures of the lathes and the Bridgeport and all. This guy, goes on there and he starts working away, and it's great. A great little shop. And first time I walked in the shop, my jaw dropped. I'm looking at, there's a 32 Ford Roadster and then a fully original 32 Ford parked next to it. And it's the same guy that owned both cars.
I don't know if you were on the call a few months back, Bob, but I actually have a Tucker radio here.
You showed it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because there was a guy that we knew down, he had a Fury like my dad's, a 56, and he was into Tuckers. He had a brand new Tucker engine in the crate yet. And he had something really rare. He had a prototype 1949 Tucker convertible. that never went into production.
I think I saw a video on YouTube on that.
Yeah. Some guy kind of screwed him out of it though. He was going to sell it and he didn't get the price for it. They promised him all this stuff and he turned over the car and he kind of got shafted on the deal. So, but another radio, we were talking about the Wonder Bar. I've got a 58 Oldsmobile radio here that I'm working on for a guy. It's one of those that pulls out of the dashboard. It was a
Oh
portable.
yeah. Yep.
Oh,
You
like
take
they
it take
call
it to
them
the beach.
transportable.
Yep.
Transportable, yeah. That's a lot of stuff in a small box.
Oh, how interesting. You have to take some photos and show us, Greg, when you,
Yeah.
as you're
It's
doing
downstairs,
work.
I could grab it, but
Maybe you could show us at the next meeting or something if you're still working on it.
Actually, I've got a picture of one here somewhere that my buddy has in his collection, and it still works. These
Yeah.
things are really terrible radios to keep working.
I think it was only like a 1-year option only thing. 58.
There
Well,
was-
they carried them over. They have them in 58 and 59.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw a 59 Buick that had the pull-out radio.
Hmm.
It was purported to be, it was a black convertible, triple black. It was purported to be a Jackie Gleason car.
Ah,
Saw
yes.
it at a car show.
Black and red interior, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I've seen that car. I even talked to the guy who owned it. It's a really amazing story. I got a picture here. I'm searching for it right now. Oh, here it is. All right, let me get into share screen mode. Where am I? Oh, here we go. Let me get out of this. Can't do this.
Somehow I
Now
can't
I can
picture
do
Jackie
this.
Gleason in a Buick.
And
though.
now I can do this. That's the radio right
Yep.
there.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that's not the same one that Greg's working on. This was kind of like the generic version that didn't
looks
have the
like
Wonder Bar. But my buddy actually got one of these. He picked it up at a flea market and got it working. So that was kind of cool.
Hmm.
yeah, it is. That's very interesting. Good
Yeah,
stuff.
because it operates on 12 volts when it's in the car, and when you pull it out, it's a 6-volt battery set.
Yes. I could tell you the sub story about that car. Who said that? Noah?
Yes.
Okay. Here's the story on the car. When that car was brand new, you remember who Jackie Gleason was, right?
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Okay. When Jackie Gleason, when Dumont Network kind of started falling apart and they were running out of money and all that, he was already kind of had a verbal agreement with CBS that he was going to start doing a variety show on CBS.
Mhm.
But as kind of a bribe to kind of keep Jackie Gleason there, they had a written contract and a bonus for him if he went on with Dumont for another year. And the bonus was that car.
Ah.
So Jackie Gleason actually took the car, drove it for about a week, and then gave it back. And that's the understory for that car. But that is a beautiful car.
Beautiful
Yeah.
car.
Black and red interior, red top. Just
Red
it's
top.
just a sweetheart.
He probably gave it back and said, "Some bitch."
Yeah. On beige.
That's funny.
I thought part of the deal was he was going to always be able to have a little something extra in that coffee cup he had on stage during the variety show. He'd always take a sip. Ah,
Oh, that's good coffee.
good coffee.
When the Raceway Park swap meets happen twice a year here in New Jersey at the drag
Yep.
strip, I shared a spot with my uncle for close to 30 years. And then I stopped it about 4 years ago because it was turning into, tube socks and Harbor Freight tools and that kind of thing instead of car parts. And I
Yep.
just said no more because I was writing the check for the weekend and I said, I'm done. I'm not going to do this anymore.
Yep.
But they have a car show there on Sundays. And that's how I met that gentleman. And we were talking about that car for at least a half an hour.
Yep. I was at before I had back in I guess it must have been in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, before I had my 300G convertible. I had to work my way up to that one. I had a 300G coupe, and the Chrysler 300 Club had a national meet on the East Coast at Raceway Park in Englishtown. And So I was able to drive my 300G from Boston down to Raceway Park and then beat the snot out of it, drag racing it with all the other 300s all day long on a
That's
Saturday
funny.
because we'd like rented the park and then drove all the way home after it. It's kind of a testament to, I mean, drive it 4 hours, beat the snot out of it, 16 seconds or 15 and a half seconds at a time, and then drive it all the way back home 4 hours.
I bet you had the greatest time there too.
Oh, my face hurt out of my big grin on my face. The funniest thing that happened there was a buddy of mine had a 7300 Hearst with the 440 in it. And, everybody after like the fifth, sixth run down the track, people start doing silly things like taking off their power steering belt, taking off the top of their air cleaner and putting it on upside down to like try to get more air in. And the guy with the Hearst at that time took the complete top of the air cleaner off altogether and closed the hood and got to the starting lines, and down came the tree, and he launched and he went about 10 feet, and then all you heard was a boo, and then there was nothing. And he had taken the big chunk of his underhood insulation pad and sucked it right into the
Oh,
engine.
geez.
He spent the next hour with various different kinds of screwdrivers and needle nose pliers,
Yanking it out of there,
yanking all that fiberglass underhood pad insulation out of the intake of his car. Funny.
Oh,
that's quite a vacuum if you pull that right off of the hood. Wow.
Oh yeah, well you put your foot through the firewall and you open up that big 4-barrel and it's just going to suck in whatever is above it.
The birds are struggling to make progress.
Exactly. So he was pretty sheepish the rest of the day after that. Everybody else kept racing, and he was on the side for 2 hours pulling fiberglass out of his motor. So,
wow.
Good stuff.
Well, that was pretty good.
Yep. Well, that was a good meet after all. That was great.
Well, it was really, this was pretty much audible because, it just kind of, this meeting unfolded as it did. I thought we might be doing a presentation, and we didn't, and I guess we'll miss Len this time. But it was great to have the substitute of having the walk through that gentleman Dave's estate, if you will, as vintage AM equipment estate, and then we sort of let it. But we always kept it within the vintage electronics. There is a radio story or vintage electronics to all of these things, even cars, but went a little tangential. But that's okay.
Part of me wants to have a set of those slides that I can forward to my wife and say, "See, I don't have a problem. Look at this." It's like
yes.
I don't own anything yet. Look at this.
Yeah. Well, I guess maybe for that. Hey, Tom, in a few weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, would you be up for more photos from Friedrichshafen?
Yes, I think so. It sort of depends on where I am. I'll keep in touch with you on that.
Yeah. We'll talk offline. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll see how things go. But Noah, you're of course always welcome to give us a closer tour. I think all of us, most of us still on this meet, would enjoy another look at that headboard.
There you go. All right, I'm going to have to get back a little bit further. I'm kind of running out of gas here at this.
Oh yeah. No, we're talking like February or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe when you feel better. But
once I more fully recover from whatever's got the grips on me right now.
Well, I should probably let you guys go. But since I did pull out of the cabinet, I will give you one 30-second show and tell.
Oh, good.
The Chrysler 300H that I did build. This is probably from 1980. So, this thing is, 42 years old. But
it's a Johan though, right?
Yeah, it's a Johan. All right. I hopefully did the grill. The 300.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Your attention
now,
to detail
does that have
on that.
Is that the stock dual inline 4-barrels, or is that the optional 405 horse with the cross rams?
It's the stock motor.
Okay.
I think that's what Johan gave you for the kit. So kind of like, I wasn't. Hey, I love the subject matter because nobody else, everybody on the time was doing 55, 56, 57 Chevrolets. I mean, you name it, they were making them. I liked them, but after one or two, you're like, all right, and but Johan has such great subject matter. So I would seem to build like a Chrysler or a Pontiac Tempest or with the stuff like that was just an old I don't think what else I built. Oh, the American Motors Marlin.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Stuff like that. Great
Well,
subject matter.
the one I wish I had the skill set to do, it was probably the most ambitious. Should have been one of the easier ones because of its size, but I just didn't have the skill set for it. I had, if you remember, the thing called the Big T. It was a monstrous,
Oh yeah.
it was red tea bucket with the white top, and it even came with
Oh yeah.
stanchions with like gold lame, like, rope around these red
Wow.
plastic stanchions, and it had pneumatic tires and a steering box that actually worked and spark plug wires, and
Oh
and it
yeah.
was huge. It was monstrous. And I think I was maybe 10 or 12, and it looked kind of like a 12-year-old did it. And I tried keeping it forever and ever and ever, and it was, I guess, my bad choices or my parents' bad choices or the technology of the day. But the glue just kind of, over time, it just turned to this weird yellowish, orangish, brownish color and actually started eating away the plastic as well as not being glue anymore. And the thing just sort of fell apart before my very eyes, and it just wasn't really recoverable, but I had one.
You could probably find them on eBay. Give it time.
Take up a lot of room. That's a big model.
Yeah,
That
they
to me
are.
was a very big model.
Did
Yeah.
you ever build one of those engines? Was it visible?
Oh yeah,
The,
the red
the
wall.
visible V8.
The V8.
Yeah.
My brother had one. I was so jealous. They were cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even had
They
little
were
spark
cool.
plugs and lights. So you had
Yep. Yeah, little
little
lights.
electronics, boys. We can always
Yep,
work that in.
yep. No, little lights
Right, so for
sequentially that would blink.
Right. So it was light for the spark plug. So it would light when that plug would have been lit up, by the distributor.
Yeah,
So
it was cool.
I wish I had them. My brother, you can get those. Again, you have to pay, but they're actually pretty cool. They also made a Vonkel motor as well.
Right. Right.
My brother had that too. Again, lucky dog. The older always got the good stuff. So whenever it was Christmas, I was happy with my stuff, but I would always gravitate to him and hang out with him because I would like look at all his stuff because my stuff was it was very interesting. His was much more interesting.
I had, when I was a kid, a giant 37 cord.
Yep.
It was a plastic
I know
model
that
like
kit.
Yeah,
I know
it
that
was a
kit.
huge kit.
It might have been a monogram. Was that monogram? Or was that?
Might have been monogram, yeah, but it was very detailed. I think I had a Jaguar too, where the windows rolled up and down.
Yeah. Yes.
It was about the same size.
My aunt was it it was the fastback, not the convertible, right?
Yep. It was a fastback, yeah.
My aunt had that because my dad's cousin I still talk to, built that for her. It was red. I think it was molded in red, if memory served.
Mine was yellow, but
interesting. Okay. Maybe they came in different colors. I quite, unless he painted hers, I could swear it was original plastic, but you know what? I'm going from the memory of a 7 or 8-year-old at that point. So, it's my memory's good, but then it gets vague as to whether it was painted or molded.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
Yeah. But
I had a 63 Corvette that size too.
Yes.
About that big.
Yes.
Remember the headlights around too.
They it was, I think was it a 64? No, 65, I think. Was it 65, Greg? My brother had, it's like the 112 scale. It's good.
Split window in the back. That'd be a 63, I think.
Oh, it had the split. All right, split.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought they made a 60. I can't remember. I thought it was a 65. It was red. And my brother built it. It was like 112 scale. So it was, it was big. And had the funny thing is that it was a little bit of a defect is the tires didn't have enough stiff enough sidewall that the tires could barely support the weight of the plastic.
Yeah.
It was kind of crazy. They blew it in the one spot.
Flat tires.
Yeah, because they're very thin. They were very flexible. Problem was they need more stiffness in the sidewall because there was just enough weight. They kind of, it was a bit wobbly sitting there. You could make it jiggle very easily, but
And you got me thinking about stuff I hadn't thought about in 40 years.
Yeah, ditto. Exactly right. It's just I belong. That's all the back in the recesses of my brain. You guys bring it up. It's like, oh, yes, of course. But
Just don't ask him what he had for breakfast yesterday, because he
Yeah,
has no
exactly.
recollection of that whatsoever.
well, let's see here. Yes, I had oatmeal. Not quite there. I'm not too bad a shape yet. But well, any rate, boys, I should
Yeah, I have
probably.
a,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
I
go
was
ahead,
just gonna
Dick.
say, one quick question. It's actually, speaking of old mechanical things, that's for Tom. So the Enigma Museum is purely online, right? Is that,
They're online, and if you're at the MIT Hamfest or NEVAC, I bring usually an Enigma or two to those.
uh-huh,
But it's basically online because it's very difficult to bring enigmas, and if I have an accident or something, it's
yes, they're,
the equivalent of totaling a brand new Rolls Royce.
yeah, exactly. No, I just, I've been going back through my old books and I started rereading, the book on, well, Alan Turing's biography,
Yeah,
and also one on Bletchley Park called Code Breakers,
yeah,
and then also Turing's Cathedral. So I'm
yeah.
getting back into thinking about how clever Enigma machines were, and how it all can be replaced by a Raspberry Pi, but it doesn't have the elegance at any rate.
Doesn't have the antique appeal, right?
No, I think somebody's selling a kit which is sort of an ersatz Enigma machine.
It's very good. It's just the darn thing is, I've got one over here. It's about the size of a couple of postage stamps. That's no fun.
But I think you can get a plug board for it and do a lot of other, if
Well,
you
there
really.
there are a number of them. You can build your own electronic kit, but the only person who's actually succeeded in making a replica made about 10 of them and sold them for $50,000 a piece, which is what, 2/3 of what an Enigma, one. I don't know. I got to figure out the fraction. Less than an Enigma by a good bit, but still a lot of money for a darn replica.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that falls into the category, the same guys who are making replicas of PDP-8s and PDP-11s.
Yeah.
They unfortunately are making them something like 2/3 scale, so you can't,
Yeah.
you know.
But I don't know. Do you go back to the PDP-8 series?
I used one.
Yeah, I had one up here in Vermont with me, by the way, and it got my house got hit by lightning. Blew
Oh,
the 7400 series ICs right off the board.
oh
That
my.
computer was so simple that I was able to fix it in about a week just by soldering new ICs on the board. It after you've been a ham radio operator and dealing with really, really difficult circuitry, a machine that only has 0 or 5 volts to worry about is
Yep.
an absolute dream.
We actually had a predecessor of the 8, which was called the Link.
Yeah,
And the
Link,
Link was developed by Ken Olson when he was at Lincoln Labs.
yeah,
And it's called the Link 8. And they had, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this thing, but it had an incredibly clever tape drive, which had the clock was encoded into the tape. So it didn't matter. The motors didn't have to have stepping motors or anything like that. The fingers just wind back and forth and pick the clock pulse off of the tape. Really incredibly
the
clever.
deck tape,
Tape. Yeah.
picked up on that technique, and it all, of course, goes back to Turing and his universal Turing machine.
Yep.
By the way, there's a simulator for the Turing machine out there now.
Well, I don't know whether you start. I also, after watching Oppenheimer, I also started reading up about von Neumann's machine at the
Yeah.
Institute for Advanced Studies, which is another one of these incredible devices. And I think the mathematicians at the Institute for Advanced Studies thought he had desecrated the place And when he died, they actually destroyed the machine and swore that he would never do anything
Yeah.
experimental again.
If you're into this seriously, into cryptology, there is a groups.io, groups, crypto collectors. And if you send me an email, I can show you how to subscribe to the group. My email is tom@enigmamuseum.com.
Okay.
But they're a bunch of fanatics like me that get together, and we all meet out in Friedrichshafen in Germany and swap enigmas and lies.
Well, what's really so incredible, of course, now is you know, what's available in cryptographic stuff is so much more difficult to break, I think.
I don't know, the Enigma machine is still really good. It takes 100 modern PCs running for about a year to crack a four-rotor Enigma message.
Wow. Wow.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Very
You gotta give the Polish mathematician a lot of credit for cracking that code 10 years before Turing had anything to do with it.
Yeah, I guess the thing is, part of the breaking was the fact that the Germans insisted on having standard phrases like Heil Hitler. And people
Yeah.
noticed that after a while.
Right.
That was in the movie. You saw the Imitation Game movie?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was my enigma in the movie, of course.
No,
And-
my wife and I went to Bletchley Park.
Yeah.
And I guess one of their machines was basically telephone relays.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
they had
that was-
the other part of it at the museum, for those of you who haven't seen it, is they had a whole bunch of HRO receivers, which the code receive, which the receipt operators used to copy German submarines and ships.
Yeah, I don't know whether you noticed, but in the German machine room, my video runs constantly throughout the whole day. And I hate to think of the curators that have to listen to my voice going on and on the same stuff.
Well, okay, I'll send you an email.
Okay, I'll fill you in on all that stuff.
And we can catch up on this.
Do you
Sorry,
have a
I-
copy of my book, Dick?
what is your book? Let me
Inside Enigma.
Inside Enigma.
Yeah. Do you ever get to the MIT flea market?
I do. And I just live. As I say, I live in Brookline, Massachusetts. So and I have an office. Still have
Either way, I'll have some copies of the book. I don't make it to all the MITs because I got to sleep on the street in Boston in order to get in there at a reasonable hour. And the hotels in Boston have gone up to over $450.
You got it. You got it. Well, we should talk about that too.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
No, that's quite all right. Well, guys, it was a fun meeting. It was totally on the fly, and so I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I'm gonna let you guys go, and so we'll be talking in 3 weeks, not 2, but 3, and we'll come up with an agenda. I'll go off in the background and see what I can scare up. But anyway, glad you guys attended. Happy New Year. Good to see you guys.
Yes, Happy New Year.
John, I have one comment. Have you listened to any of our recordings yourself?
Not recently, no. Are they that dull?
Okay, no. You might want to listen to your audio because there is a breaking up, at least that I'm hearing. Anybody else hear a breaking up on John's audio occasionally?
You know, usually it happens at the beginning of a meeting, and then I don't know what happens, and then things clear up
Clear
after
up.
that, and it's fine the rest of the night.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to.
If you get a chance, just listen to one of those recordings, the first 5 or 10 minutes. And I don't know what it is. I'm trying to figure out from the audio what's happening. And the only thing I can guess is either a scratchy connection on one of the cables from your mic or
Yeah, this is built into the laptop.
yeah, something. And it
Yeah.
seems to get better when you're further away from the mic. Who knows what's going on?
You know what? I gotta. Yeah, we've had on our complaints. I gotta be a little bit more a little bit more disciplined here, because it could be this laptop, and maybe it's just sort of a sign that that it's looking for a replacement. So it's a successor. So maybe it's complaining, wants to retire. So maybe
Also, could also be a bandwidth problem. Maybe you can sort of figure it out.
yeah, I'll have to look at it. But that's thanks for the heads up, Tom. I'll see. I'll try and be more aware of that. In fact, I probably will ask occasionally for feedback, during the meetings, just to see if it's just the level of my voice or the proximity or something else going on, or this laptop is just or something else here I can work on.
Try talking real loud, John, and see what happened.
Okay, how's that?
That's good. Keep talking loud.
Okay. If does it change at all? How about if I back away? Is that better, worse, the same?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And we have a good connection here. I mean, with at least quote good connection. But like I've said, just because you get a 600 meg connection or whatever doesn't mean that they're subject to congestion somewhere in the network because of other households, and they may not be treating Zoom traffic as any more than best effort. And so who knows? But
And then maybe there are many more people competing for that bandwidth at the beginning of our meetings than toward the end of our meetings, and that's why the problem tends to go away over time. I don't know.
yeah.
But the
Could
next
be.
time you talk, you remember you have to do it right. You have to say the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. You can't,
That's right. Or maybe a jingle of some radio ad or something. But well,
There was
anyway,
somebody
guys.
else on the call tonight that had a really scratchy audio.
That was
I think-
Bruce. I think that
No,
was our
No, that was
Bruce.
Paul. I
Oh,
reached out
Paul,
to
you're right.
him.
I'm sorry. That was Paul.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
Paul
unicasted
Buresh.
him. He
Yeah, I
he
think
had
he
his
had a loose
microphone was rubbing
connection.
on the-
Yeah, he fixed it because I said we're getting some feedback here, and I kept looking, and every time it happened, usually I saw his picture light up. Says, okay, it must
Yep.
be him, and sure enough, he made just a few adjustments. So, yeah, well, it is
Yeah.
freeware. So, but well, anyway, guys,
All right.
thanks.
Good night,
Please,
all.
See you in
Good
a
night.
while. Happy New
Bye-bye.
Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New
and
Year.
Stay warm for the next few weeks. Take care now. Bye.
Okay. Good night.